Hello, my name is Russell. Thank you for watching. Today on Tea and a Chit Chat, I'm joined by Dan and Connie Kazmaier, who are responsible for many things, but most known for their wonderful game Chai. Hi, Dan and Connie.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that introduction was suitable enough. I was trying to hype you up.
Where do you UK? In the UK. We're from Calgary, Canada.
So I'm from London. Obviously England. I'm not English, but I'm Welsh. But England, obviously being known for a tea, so this should be right up your street. This conversation, because it'll be very much tea involved. And before we get into the most important question of all, because I know you've prepared some, I wanted to just do a quick plug. If anyone is watching, if you want to ask Dan and Connie a question, please do. There's a chat underneath on Twitch, and you can just type your question in there, and we'll save them all for them towards the end of the stream, so we'll get to ask you them. Now, most importantly of all, what tea are you drinking?
Yeah. We're on our third steeping of coconut chai.
Wow.
Right here.
Coconut chai.
Yeah.
Nice. It's kind of tropical.
It has to steep for about 10 minutes when you do your third brew. So we still think we can get some flavor out of it. It's been awesome.
So you're the first person who steeped the same tea multiple times. So why is that? Is it like specifically this kind of tea, like that you get is so strong that you can do it multiple times, or?
Right. Actually, most teas you can steep more than once. Like the finest imperial oolong you can do 25 times apparently. But most of the time you do 8.
8? Oh my god!
Yeah, I know, right?
So this
we always used to throw big out, but you can use it multiple times.
Not tea bags, but more loosely. Yeah.
Totally.
You're so right. Like I generally do throw tea bags out, and that's kind of bad, isn't it? I shouldn't do that. I should keep them and reuse them, right? Man, I feel like I know people do. I've known about this. You know, I work at a game cafe, and people often come up and say, "Oh, can you just fill this with hot water?" And I'm there just going like, "Oh, okay, fine." And I'm like, "No, it's actually legit. You can actually do it. So fair play." Yeah. So that's a very interesting tea. I'm just sticking to my normal sort of black tea, which is just like a branded one. I feel ashamed. I should have done something fancy for you guys. I feel bad.
No shame.
So
we didn't.
So I just wanted to.
We just didn't. Sorry.
You go.
We didn't know much about tea until we made the game.
Okay.
And then companies were contacting us. Now we're tea influencers for Harney and Sons. So they sent like a oodle amount of tea. Like it's been a blast, but we're like really insecure about our tea abilities or knowledge.
Because beforehand, I would like I had a collection of tea. I had more teas than I had board games, but they were mostly herbal teas, so I didn't know much about like the actual tea leaf and all that kind of stuff. So that was a really big learning experience for both of us.
That's phenomenal. I mean, I should by the way say congratulations, because you've done quite well with your latest Kickstarter, and this is the second one. It's the second run Kickstarter for Chai, but you're releasing an expansion. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Would you care to?
Thank you so much.
No worry. I mean, would you care to sort of like tell everyone that's watching just a little bit about like how the game works and especially the expansion?
Yeah. So the base game is there it is. Daniel's God.
No, he's prepared. I love it.
You're a tea merchant, and you're putting together the perfect blends of tea. So you have your own tea house.
Wow.
He's all ready. So this is for the black merchant, tea merchant, and you've got all these spaces for tea flavors, ingredients, and then on the bottom you've got your mix-ins. So different pantry items at the bottom. This is all I can see.
You can just like kind of tilt it towards you if you like. Might makes it easy for you.
So I don't know if I have cards ready.
Yeah. Well, we got pieces all around the table.
Yeah, we got lots of stuff.
But we have the queen in the game, so I should probably go find her real quick. Because she's very important.
Oh yeah, no, go grab it. Someone's just said on the chat that they had echoing. Hopefully I fixed that. I forgot to turn off something, so let me know if that's fixed it. But it's Vito9. Thank you for joining, by the way. Hopefully you'll be able to hear them better now that I've turned that off. Sorry about that. You don't.
you have different tea customers who are coming into your tea house,
cool.
and they all have different favorite recipes of tea. So, you know, they might come in saying, I am having a cold today. I really want lemon and honey on a green tea base. So then, you know, as the tea merchant, you're going to try to make that blend. So Daniel just found the queen right here. So
very, very like an Easter egg, but kind of not very well hidden one. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
Cool. A little bit of a delay. Sorry.
So, yes, no worries. The queen has milk and jasmine and a bit of lavender.
Nice.
Here's some other British.
Oh, phone box. Nice.
So there's a girl. Yeah.
That's so good.
Doctor Who, kind of.
Yeah, totally. Do you recognize? Does anybody recognize?
Oh
this
yeah, that's
one?
Captain Picard. I was trying to come up with a tea pun there, but I couldn't.
He likes his tea hot. That's all he says.
Yeah. Black.
Okay. So,
a famous British politician that a tea is named after.
A famous what? Sorry.
British politician.
Oh, do you know what? I'm not so hot on my history, unfortunately. So you're gonna have to tell me what that one is.
That's okay. It's
Earl Grey. Of course, he's had a tea named after him. I feel like that should have been an obvious guess there.
Still tricky.
That's neat though.
Yeah, there's about 80 cards.
Yeah, 80 unique pieces of art. So when we made the game, we really wanted it to represent different tea cultures around the world. So so there's, you know, our friend from Thailand is one of the cards.
That's nice.
This is, do you know this one?
Well, that one's hard.
Is that a Mountie?
Canadian
Is it meant to be someone in the board game community? It's Rod.
Yes, you got it. It's a Mountie and someone.
Yeah. Is it Rodney? Is it meant to be for Rodney? Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. That's so good. So who's the artist behind that? Because I always like to find out who did the art behind the games.
Yeah, we had two amazing artists. So Mary is local to us from Calgary, so she did all the cover art.
Oh wow!
For actually both our base and the expansion.
So nice.
And then Sahana is our artist who did all of the cards and the boards and everything else inside the game. And what's really cool about her, so one, she was just starting in art when we found her, which was really cool because she's done like just such a phenomenal job.
That's amazing. I can't believe it.
And also she's from India as well, so it worked out really well. Oh, there's her auto.
That's her.
Self-portrait as well.
Yeah. So. That's awesome. Like, and obviously India's quite well known for its tea as well, right?
Yes.
So that's like a perfect match.
Yeah, it worked out really well.
Yeah, chai means tea. So when you order a chai tea, you're just being redundant. You're ordering a tea.
I've actually heard that before, but that's true. So what was so you said like earlier on that you weren't that much of a tea drinkers when you started making this game. So what was it that sort of made you decide to make a game about tea? Was it you came up with an interesting game like mechanic and then kind of put it on a tea theme on it, or was it the other way around?
Yeah, I guess we're more thematic players. Like, we were board gamers for years. We got a couple hundred games, and then I was making a submarine game and realized that we can't really do miniatures and all this other stuff the first go. So it was just a brainwave of let's do a tea game. Yeah. A friend helped with the recipes. He researched and made sure that the milk isn't with the lemon because it'll curdle. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
I loved herbal teas, so just grew up really loving those.
So it was like
So even though, I didn't know the tea leaves and stuff like that, the herbal part. Yeah, I mean, I thought I knew a lot about tea, and then, the game proved me this design process proved me wrong.
So was it difficult then to come up with things that made sense in the game? that still fit within that made the game fun to play. Like, because I can imagine, just based on like having dabbled in a bit of design myself, having to be so tied with something, did that make it difficult?
Yeah, I think we went in with those constraints in mind. So we're like, well, if you're making tea, then there has to be tea customers. Let's say you're going to be a tea house owner. Where would you find your ingredients? Maybe a pantry. Okay, we need a mechanic for that. You got to buy your mint and lavender, jasmine and berries in a market. Really important. It kind of came together from those thematic restraints, and then we wanted to make it family accessible. So we played the game with my mom, and she couldn't explain the game to another person, one of the mechanics. So we had to change the pantry.
Okay.
But that was perfect because you really want to figure out your audience and then make sure that they enjoy the game. Basically, it's more important that they enjoy it than you do, because we played it, hundreds of times, and we have hundreds of games. So we're not the target market in a way for tea lovers and gateway family board gamers.
So, I mean, the funny thing is, and I just thought of this question now, but it's so perfect. You actually recommended to me to interview based on my chat with Elizabeth Hargrave, and she has had huge success with creating a unique, unusual, almost like niche type idea, theme. And look at where Wingspan is now. Do you almost feel the same thing? Like, you are not only you've not only created this like game that's based on quite a niche interest. I mean, there are obviously millions of people around the world love tea, right? But in terms of like creating it and making that work, but then also you're thinking the kind of game that would appeal to those people who drink tea, you want it to be as simple as possible. Was that something in your head when you were creating that, thinking of Elizabeth and her success with Wingspan?
Yeah, I think what's really cool about Chai is it kind of bridges those two different lots of board gamers who wanted a game that they can play with their families or with a spouse where, half an hour, 20 minutes after everything's kind of died down for the day. And then we've also got our tea lovers as well. So it's actually been kind of incredible joining some of the tea groups on Facebook, and then for people to be like, oh my goodness, like I've never played a board game before, much less I've never backed a Kickstarter before, and I really want to do it because this appeals to me. So yeah, it's kind of cool finding those niches and meeting people from both areas, I guess.
We get requests from tea shops every day, like how can we carry your products? So these are like unique challenges, and we're glad that there's a cross between the two different groups. So that's why we made it a bit more accessible, so that it's easier to explain. Rodney Smith has a video on YouTube. We're just trying to break down those barriers. Just like in Wingspan, there's tons of birders who might not like games, and they can stumble across something they like.
What's the name for a person who loves tea? Have you worked that out? Like, what do you call them?
Well, as a bit of a joke, we had
tea lovers, I think.
Tea lovers. What was the other one? Tea-rific.
Not tea birds.
Ooh. Yeah, tea files.
Sure. Yeah, tea files, which is kind of weird.
That's because it just made me think when you called them birders. I'm like, that's a word that I never heard before playing Wingspan. So that's quite funny. So when is that going to affect, do you think, the kind of games that you create in future? Because I mean, you've created two very successful. I mean, I'm assuming Chai. I apologize for not coming fully prepared, but was Chai your first game, right? And High Tea is your second product.
It's an expansion. Yeah.
Okay. So is that going to impact, do you think, the fact found success in a sort of unusual theme? Is that going to sort of dictate or impact the sort of route you go down from now on in terms of creating games?
Yeah, I mean, halfway through the Kickstarter for our first campaign, we actually decided to rebrand our company altogether. Wow. So before we had a name that was kind of similar to another company's name, so we decided to move to Steep Games.
It wasn't Brickmeyer Games or something, was it?
Or Kazmaier, right? So Yeah. But but we decided to move to Steep Games. So it's got a little, teacup on the logo. And part of it was because of Thai, obviously, and part of it was because we wanted to keep creating those immersion games where, when you're playing it, you feel like you're part of that world. So
yeah. Oh, wonderful.
Yes, I think that is a future for us.
I think
maybe a coffee game down the road, but we'll see.
Well, you know what? You'll be in competition there, because I think there are quite a few coffee games there. But you know what? There's always a new angle on it. I think the ones that I've seen so far have been very much focused on sort of running a coffee shop. Not necessarily the brewing of it, but yeah. Anyway, I'll leave that to you. You're the professionals in that aspect. So I wanted to ask you, but let's talk more about sort of your games sort of history and games background. You said you've played a lot of games. What kind of board games do you enjoy playing the most?
Yeah, I guess I was a semi-chess professional for like 15 years.
Wow.
That was kind of my jam. And then we played Catan and Puerto Rico, and then Carcassonne. I even met the Carcassonne designer in a chess tournament. He gave me a ride home, and I didn't realize, what Carcassonne was. I was only 18 at the time. So, yeah, I've been surrounded by other good games for a long time, but it wasn't until the last 3 years that we really jumped in with both feet. So we're like playing maybe 2 new games a week and just trying to figure out different mechanics and other angles at things. We found out that actually board game design is also product design.
Yeah.
Because it's all about experience. So that's why we put in teacups or chunky tiles and metal coins, that sort of thing. So yeah, we're trying to figure out how can we really immerse people in that experience and then bring across that theme.
We speaking of that, we had an interview with Gil Hover last Friday, and he mentioned something similar. Because he created the game Wordsy, but the first version of that game was called Prolix, and he said that people picked up that game even though it said word game on the box and didn't understand it was a word game because of the packaging and design. Whereas like when he created Wordsy, the fact that it looks like a book really kind of got people who to understand what kind of game it is. So he was kind of preaching that same thing, that it's not just creating a fun game, it's creating like a product that can sell itself and is understandable in every part of it. So I'm guessing by that kind of same logic you agree with that.
Totally. We were looking up even tea tins the other day to see if make a small little version or something. Like there's so many ideas that you can really spin off of your central themes. So yeah, we just got to be playful and try things.
I think I was most curious when you said earlier on that you're like tea influencers. I'm just seeing you in the future with like merchandise, teapots, mugs, china, that kind of thing. You can do a deluxe edition and it comes with like a full tea set. And you can have that idea for free. Oh, a t-shirt. I like that. That's great. So what's something, being that, you've had a good amount of time now, like in the thick of sort of designing games and creating Kickstarter projects, etc. What's something about creating a game that you think most people don't know?
Yeah, I think it's very vulnerable. Because you're putting something really creative out there, and it's not just I don't know what the word is. It's not that it's not like a book where somebody just reads it and then they kind of put it down. And it's a game where people are interacting, and oftentimes at conventions you're getting feedback right after. So yeah, you really have to kind of put down any kind of ego and accept the feedback, and realize that it's really valuable to making a good game. So
yeah, it's kind of an art form.
Yeah.
So, we have people who are like, this is my favorite game of all time, and then some people are like, well, the mechanics are a bit light, or there might be a tea lover who's like, this is incredible, like can we get more, like why don't you have teaspoons and tea everything. So yeah, there's like a whole range of different people, and it's been really interesting and exciting that way. And even Kickstarter, they say it's like a dance and everyone's watching.
Wow.
For like a whole month.
That's quite an interesting like viewpoint on that, because I mean, we've discussed it with other people on this show, because we've had like people, you know, who've created Kickstarter campaigns before. It's just been so baffling to me to understand how people have that mentality of like, well, you should do this. You need to do this. Like, so demanding, and I kind of understand a little bit why they would be towards that, but being so demanding in a game that's like not even yours, it's quite surprising.
Maybe demanding in a good way, because like we have such age community, like there's a suggestion at some point later on, and yeah, it's like someone wanted sleeves the other day, so we're like, okay, sure. So we're looking at a factory right now and they're preparing a sample. We might not do it, but yeah, like there's just so many different ways to do things. We did a poll of like, hey, what are some cool abilities you want in the game? So that's kind of how we made the expansion.
So that's where this kind of came from too. So we had a lot of gamers played the base game, and they're like, oh, we just want that like little bit more interaction with other players. At a convention, somebody even joked and said, what about after hours edition where you can steal pieces from another person? So
sure, why not?
So when we went in thinking about the expansion, we're like, oh, like maybe some people actually do want more of the, the take that and that kind of interaction. Whereas the base game, we didn't want to have a lot of that, because we wanted families to be able to play it and not be in a fight afterwards, right?
Yeah. So that's interesting, because take that is quite a divisive mechanic in a game, and I wondered if that completely changes it up. I mean, I imagine it would then, because I've played games. I mean, the classic example of is when my one of the guys who used to run this site, Ben. He would teach his girlfriend to play Carcassonne, but he could never play the game with the farmer rule. Because that was to take that for like the fact you could sneak in and like take over somebody's farm, so they couldn't play with that rule. And I always found that it's like so crazy how people are so against that. So yeah, in terms of adding to that, have you had any sort of feedback about it? Like people seem to responding quite well to it.
Yeah, so we're more of the Care Bear board gamer as well. Like we're so competitive that like we won't play.
Was it Targi?
Chess or
There's a
Targi,
few that
Santorini.
We started playing and then we got really
heated,
angry.
Wow.
So, but just for Chai, it is more of the family. We're trying to do this all together. There's even co-op variants. So for the expansion, there's 6 boards that have different abilities, and only on one of the sides is there more of an aggressive take that action. So you could even just play on one of the sides and have the same experience. But if you want more interaction, that comes at the expense of maybe stealing a tea token, or rearranging the board a bit, or wiping the customers from the market area. So yeah, just different ways to mix it up a bit.
So it's like a modular part of the game. You don't have to.
Totally.
Okay, that's quite nice. I was going to ask you. So in terms of sort of marketing the game, the first one that you created, the first Kickstarter, like how do you think? Why do you think it did so well? What do you think it was? Do you think it was like a combination of things? Do you think it was specifically the fact that it was quite a different game, or did you do a lot of like marketing stuff? I mean, do you have any background in that? What do you think were the like ingredients that make that your Kickstarter successful? And I'm mainly asking you this because I know that some people watch this are thinking of running their own, and so obviously like your advice, being that you've done this successful twice now, would be probably quite useful to those people.
I think it's a combination of different factors for sure. We both came from a graphic design photography background, so we brought that in. There were a lot of things like the page that we did in-house for the most part. I mean, videos and stuff we outsourced for sure, but the page was pretty crazy. Like we designed it pretty quickly, and it was a lot of sleepless nights to put it together, but that came from our skill sets that we had. But I would say the main driving point was we put our print and play out there for free for people to try. And so I think it was about 800 people that we had in our community going into the campaign. I could be wrong, maybe 400.
Something
hundreds.
Yeah, some big number.
Hundreds. That covers it.
Yeah. Totally. So, so our community was awesome and really backed us up, and posted our campaign in different groups on Facebook. Yeah, so that's probably huge.
50 prototype copies.
Oh yeah.
Just on a 3D printer.
Oh wow.
We made it run for 2 months because we printed all these littles out.
I lost.
Daniel's parents.
Oh, so it was a family effort to get them done.
It was a family effort, yeah.
So you went pizza parties.
Pizza parties, what people would come around and you entice them with pizza, and they'd get them to work for you. Right. So basically, the trick is get free labor. I'm kidding. So what? Basically, I know that you've worked with content creators. Obviously, you've put their videos up on your Kickstarter. How was it working with people that probably you only saw, whose videos you saw, and then suddenly you found yourself working with these people?
Yeah, we met quite a few at conventions already. So right before the campaign, we went to PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia. We went to Shucks, which is a Canadian event in Vancouver. So it's great connecting with Quins and others, so that gave us a bit of a boost and maybe an understanding of, what some expectations are, making a good prototype or having a factory do it. All these different things. For us, we were really up against the time to try to finish things and then send it to them. So we had to get a FedEx account for 2-day shipping to Australia.
Wow!
So Ella could do it for Man vs. Meeple, and yeah, it was a lot of late nights for sure. One guy, he would say that you have to count your costs. How many date nights are you going to give up? How many vacations? Or, instead of eating out for a few months, maybe you have to invest that into prototypes and maybe some Facebook ads. So,
was it a risk?
Yeah, all these little parts.
Was it a risk? You'd obviously invested money in it. So if it didn't go well, you would lose money then.
Totally. Actually, one of the funnier parts of the first campaign was we were interviewed by a local TV station, and they said, they interviewed, it was fine, we thought it went really well, but then afterwards, when the actual article came up, it said, local couple gambles away savings for new board game, and we were like, oh no, that's not the message we were going for.
Oh my god. So, oh my gosh, that's so unfortunate. But I mean, obviously, you this is all funny story now because obviously you made it. So, and you're continuing to do well. So, I mean, it's a lesson to all. Obviously, you can't get somewhere without taking a risk, and it all worked out for you. So I'm really happy. Do you have any favorite? I mean, this is I'm ruling myself out of this, obviously, just to prep that. But do you have any favorite content creators that you watch, content that you watch online, people whose work you read or watch?
Yeah, I guess we drove down to Dice Tower West.
Mm-hmm.
It was 22 hours, so a few friends hopped in the car to man the booth. Again, free labor, but we treated them well with food and housing, so that was really cool to meet them. And they're definitely into family games. So, there's 30 different content creators on there.
Wow.
But we love them all. And I guess the Shut Up and Sit Down guys, they're a lot of fun. I have a bit of dry humor, so they're terrific. And, it's, I guess, Rodney Smith, he's just the consummate professional.
Yeah.
Lizzie have been so supportive.
Yeah, the Funkhausers.
From the first campaign, but then also onwards. So, yeah, we're really, really appreciative of them.
Yeah, there's just
there's
tons
so
of
many.
people, on Twitter and everywhere. So we're really sad that there's no conventions. Because Dice Tower West in March was the last one for us, and then it's the last one of the year, basically.
Yeah.
So that'll be our first convention
I mean, I was going to ask about conventions because you must have been there. You've obviously been there on behalf of Steeped Games, right? Is that right? Yeah. But were you regular convention goers before? I know you said...
Yeah, probably just a year and a half before we launched. I mean, we even have a local convention that we volunteered at and helped with their logos and stuff. So yeah, I think just hanging out with lots of board gamers is a fun activity. For me, it was chess tournaments before for like 1 week in Iceland.
Wow.
So this is way back, like 3 days, a tournament or a board game event. You can play 50 games instead of just 5. So
I feel
it's been a good
I
switch.
reckon it's been quite a... I mean, I am certainly missing and going to continue to miss conventions until obviously it's safe to put them back on again. But yeah, I just can't imagine, like, especially if you're a business and you're there, the cons are sort of part of your business strategy. I feel like it must be quite tough to kind of lose that. And again, I know you're sort of like still early days in your sort of like business, but still, I imagine it would have formed like a part of it. So it must be quite tough to miss out on that. Not only for like, the business reasons, but for like personal reasons as well. So fingers crossed we can get them back sooner rather than later, I have to ask if you could, this is an industry related question actually, but if you could change, let's say if you could change one thing, whether it's a very small thing or a very large part of the industry, I'm talking about the board game industry, what one thing do you think you would change or want to change?
Yeah, I'm part of the Board Game Broads group that Elizabeth Hargrave is also in on Facebook. And one of the discussions lately is where can we have more female representation in leadership roles within the industry? Mm-hmm. So I think that would be a huge part mm-hmm. of that and having more discussion around women's games. And I know even recently, I'm totally gapping on the title, but there is a Kickstarter on right now with a woman designer, and she's done an amazing job. Oh, it's a narrative game. The title is not coming to me. But
it's the Emerald.
Yes, that one.
Flame.
Yeah. Emerald Flame. Oh, the puzzle kind of box.
Yeah. It's like an escape room in a box sort of thing.
So seeing things like that on Kickstarter is really exciting. Seeing, the amount of success that she's having. And I think just having a very uniquely female take on a game really does resonate with a lot of people. And even within the Chai process of designing and, talking to people who played it, we found that there are a lot of women who are interested in games that are designed at least with women in mind. Yeah. I mean, obviously Chai appeals to both, right? But like we thought through the cards having lots of women represented on there, lots of different races and different cultures. So so that was kind of important for us. Yeah. But I think it's also important for the whole industry. So
I guess for
I was going to say you were already kind of anticipating. I was going to ask you about your thoughts on that as well, of the question.
I guess it's been really cool to find different games from other cultures as well. So like games from Japan or South Korea. There's other tea games out there, but I had no idea until we went to Essen that there's so much game diversity from cultures and women and other diverse groups. Like it's insane, and we don't hear about that in the North American market a whole lot. So speaking as like a white guy, I really appreciate people making those games, and I want to hear about them sooner than like 5 years down the road. Because some of our favorite games, like whether it's Yokohama or Tokyo Market, all of these different things, like they're just waiting to be found, and I hope other publishers pick up those games and distribute them in English markets.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm fully on board with having more diverse creators, like designers, artists, as much as we can get, because I honestly think that we're missing out on so much potential, like creativity, innovation, from not kind of embracing the fact that the world is so different. Like every country is different and offers their own sort of unique perspective on things. And I'd love to see more of that represented in games instead of like the same kind of like fantasy dungeon crawlers and city builders and stuff. Like, let's get some more sort of like stuff in there. There's loads of the world that's we've yet to explore in games. And that's why I think actually one of my highlights, board gaming highlights, was when I went to Essen for the first time. What they do is they have like kind of like a Korean games section there. So they've like kind of got this whole table and chairs area with loads of different games, but they're all from Korea, and such a small country geographically. Well, actually, I'm not 100%. My geography is terrible, but I'm imagining it's much smaller. It's definitely much smaller than something like the US, for example. But just seeing the sort of like the different games there, and you could definitely tell that all of the games sort of shared or came from the same sort of culture, but they were also different and like exciting. And just being able to play these games is just really fascinating, and I just love that. I think that's really cool. And so yeah, it's definitely time that we need to start like looking at outside, you know, our little bubbles to find these new games and stuff. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, preach it.
Yeah. So I have a question about obviously, and it's quite nice to ask people this, especially because you know, don't always get to interview people who've made their games. But have you encountered people playing your game in the wild? And I'm not just talking about at conventions where you'd expect, you know, to see people playing your game, unless you're having a terrible convention experience. But like in terms of actually in the wild, like in board game cafes or just at a game group or something, have you seen people playing your games yet?
Yeah. Well, I guess people are still quarantined mostly, but definitely on Instagram and different places, people will put up a picture of their board game shelf, or they're having a beverage, and then we're like, oh, look over there, right on the Calyx bookshelf, box number 3. Like,
and our box,
yeah, it's a beefy box.
Yeah, it's big and it's colorful.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's just really easy to spot it for us when, you know, somebody's just putting up a picture of their kid, but you can just see that chai box in the background.
And because it was our first campaign,
mm-hmm.
We tried to make it Ticket to Ride size. So like 29.7 centimeters by 7. And the factory made it 31. So it's slightly bigger just because of the thickness on it.
I see.
Yeah, so we were kind of discouraged, and I hope they change it for the next one. We'll make sure they do that, but it sticks out a little bit.
So it's like,
so it's a little different.
So you got that literal edge. It's giving you that literal edge.
Literally.
Like, how does that make you feel then? Like, just seeing that, because I know it's like recognizable, but I've always imagined that if I was to create like a game, it would almost not even feel real until I've stumbled upon it in public. And so like, what kind of feelings you going through your head when you see that thing that you poured so much of your time and energy into, like, actually being like welcomed by you know, the community that you love to be a part of?
Yeah, I think it's just really different, and like I said before, vulnerable in a sense, right? Because when people play your game, in your head you're thinking, well, did they actually like it, or are they just saying it? You know. So I think that's questioning that is definitely part of that. And
but not quite sure. I mean, we thought that, you know, is the ultimate goal for any designer, but you know, your first instinct is to go up to them and ask them, like, hey, do you have any rules questions? Like, is this part making sense? Because it's really a blind play test.
Yeah.
They're reading from the rules and then trying to play it. So I think last night, Steph from Board Game Geek, she tagged me in a post on Instagram, which was teaching someone chai on Tabletop Simulator. So that was just super rewarding.
Yeah.
Like, that is the ultimate kind of like validation in a way, like someone that you love their content and then they're freely out of their time doing that. Or last week, Gen Con messaged us an hour before they started a Twitch stream as well. And it was Paula Deming and
Matthew Jude from I watched Matthew that stream, Jude. But you know what? I'm so gutted because I just got them as they finished your game. I shouldn't admit that, should I? But no, I was gutted. I really wanted to see them play through it. But that's so cool.
yeah, and they were having fun, and so is the crowd. So for us, our experience of enjoying a game, like we want to elicit that kind of awesome feeling. Yeah, so like that was our goal, and it's super exciting that other people are enjoying it. So yeah, we were gonna hit retail last week, but because of COVID, things got delayed. So hopefully around Christmas time, we'll see, tea-loving grandmas and grandchildren and families all enjoying it. So
that would be cool.
Yeah, can't wait.
And so we're going to get to the game in a bit. So if you haven't watched the stream before, we do what we called a giggle, because we're from Chits and Giggles. The Chits is like the strategic kind of strategy part of the thing, but the giggle is the fun bit. And so I've created for you a game. It's a trivia game, so it's going to test your board game knowledge.
Okay.
And it's kind of tea themed, not unsurprisingly. So would you be up for that?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, we're intimidated, but sounds great.
Intimidated, don't be intimidated, because there's no prize, there's nothing, you're not going to suffer any sort of recourse if you lose. Just a little bit of my respect. No, kidding. I'm kidding. It's just for fun. It's just for fun. And the good news is that if you're watching, you can actually play this at home. You can just total up your score and see how you do and see how you compare to Dan and Connie. So yeah, I tell you what, let's go to the game, because it gives us a bit of time at the end in case anybody's got any questions as well. So yeah, it's still time if you're watching, by the way. Type in a question. It doesn't even have to be board game related. You might ask what their favorite tea is, because you notice I haven't asked them that yet. So because I'm leaving it open for you. So yeah, so let's get to the game. Now, I was trying to think of a good tea game name, but I couldn't think of any. So if you hadn't called your game Chai, what would you think you would have called it? What was like a close second place?
You're such a tease, Russ. I don't know.
I'm going to call it Tea-rivia.
Yeah, we came up with Chai so early on. I think basically when we thought of the inception of the idea. So yeah, so that's a tough question.
I'm just going to call it Tea-rivia then. Tea-rivia. Okay, so basically is very simple. There's actually only 5 questions, okay, but they're all tea based, okay. So you just have to see how many of the 5 questions you can get right. So it's very simple. All right. Okay. So question number 1. You are allowed to confer, and I'm not going to put a time limit on it until we feel like we're pushing the patience of the audience. That's the time limit. But the first question, so obviously different types of hot drinks. You've got tea, coffee, any other kind of hot drinks. I want you to name 5 games that are based on the things that I just mentioned: tea, coffee, and hot drinks. And that can't include your own, by the way.
Okay.
Ready?
Connie has one.
Viva Java.
Viva
Viva Java, yeah.
Ceylon. I always say that name wrong.
Ceylon, yeah.
Yeah, that's 2.
I've got...
there is a bubble tea game by Renegade.
Oh, I remember what it looks like, but do you remember the name?
Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about that one.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a British designer. He made Snowdonia, and his game is called Alubari.
That's the one.
Alubari.
Alubari, subtitle, A Nice Cup of Tea. But I'll give you that one. So that's 3.
Cacao is chocolate.
I'll allow it. Cacao is chocolate. Yeah, it's a hot drink.
Chocolate?
It's a hot drink. Yeah.
Okay, so we need one more.
Doing very well.
Shoot. There is so many at Edson. I just can't. Formosa tea.
Formosa tea, yes. I'm actually, that's right. And you know what? You're going to kick yourself because you said there was a bubble tea game by Renegade. Do you know what it was called?
Bubble tea.
I think, or there was at least. No, sorry, I'm thinking of a different game. But there is a game called Bubble Tea, so I would still have allowed it. But yeah, congratulations. There we go. You got
11 Seas.
Sorry.
11 Seas. It's a nice little card game.
That's by Renegade, is it? That is a tea-based game.
Right.
That is a tea-based game, but I didn't know it was by Renegade. I know it was because it's got this like little pink and white box. I've played it actually.
Yeah.
Kind of nice, like not bidding game, but like I can't remember specifics, but I know I remember enjoying it, and so that's good. Yeah, but anyway, you nailed it. You even went above and beyond there, so that's 1 point.
Thanks.
Okay. The second question and the third and the fourth are based on the coloured teas. Okay, so I'd say the three main ones. I know we've got like oolong and technically yellow and dark teas, but the coloured teas that I'm interested in. In fact, if you just name one, and I'll give you the question that I've based around that colour tea. Green tea. Okay, so which prolific games designer is well known for his love of the colour green?
Oh. That would be hard. Oh.
And he likes green. Oh, okay. It's not Stefan Feld.
No, it's not Stefan Feld.
Do you mean like green boxes? I think I got it. Oh, you got
green
it?
boxes. It's Friedman Fries of Germany.
Correct. There we go.
Hey.
And he names all of his games beginning with F because of his initials. F, Friedman Fries. So there we go. You got it. Well done.
Right.
So which other tea would you like to?
Do you have red tea?
No. I went with the main tea. Interesting. I didn't know about red tea, so I'm going to put that down.
That one's not real tea, so.
I definitely knew that. So which of the other two main teas?
We'll go for the harder one. Pu'er or fermented tea.
Those
are the darks.
Black tea. Yeah.
The color is.
Yeah. So the teas that are named color tea. So green tea, and you're going for black tea, and there's another one, but we'll get to that later on. So you said
white tea.
So wait, yes, but the question. So which one do you want to do, black or white tea? Black tea, white tea.
Let's do black first.
Black tea.
Do black.
Okay. Which which company, which board game publisher, in 2014 until 2018, created the black box, which is a box filled with their games, at Essen. So there's a company, a publisher that was famously known for putting out their black box, which is like a collection of games which is blind. Didn't know what was in them, but they were famous for putting this out from 2014 to 2018.
Right.
If you don't know this, don't worry. It's a tough question.
We went to Essen last year.
So we must have missed it.
You did.
We'll take a guess.
Yeah?
We'll take a guess. Okay, so Kingdom Death Monster has a black box, but that's not a bundle. Maybe AEG?
Is that your guess?
Sure.
That's correct. That is actually correct.
Hey!
Fantastic. Well done. So that's actually on 3 points. 3 points now. So you've only got 2 questions left, and one of them is obviously the question based around white tea. Okay, so are you ready for this? It's an odd one out. It's an odd one out.
Ready.
Okay, so which of these games is the odd one out? And even if you don't know, but I'd like you to guess why. But the point is just for getting the right one, okay? So of these games, we've got chess, Mancala. Is it Mancala or Mandala? Wait, Mancala, I think. Backgammon, Go, and Othello. One of those is the odd one out.
Othello?
No, these are all abstracts. Okay, so Othello is an abstract. He uses black and white pieces.
I didn't know what Othello was. So so Go is an abstract.
Yeah, black and white
chess
circles.
Is an abstract.
I think circles might be the thing he's going for, because chess doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And
what's backgammon's pieces like?
They're also circular.
They are circular.
These are triangles. Mm-hmm. Alex plays that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got to go with chess, unfortunately.
Because everything else has circles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that your guess?
Final answer.
Lack of circles.
No, unfortunately you got it wrong. I'll tell you why. And I was hoping you would get the colour link. So all of chess... Oh, by the way, hello to Steph, who's just joined. If you've got a question for Dan and Connie, please write it in and we can get to that. We're just finishing up the game. The colour link. Sorry, back to you. The colour link was because it's white tea, so it's about brown? white. But specifically, Go and Backgammon and Othello and chess all have black and white pieces. But Mancala is a game that has 6 different coloured pieces and generally not white. So it was a bit of a it wasn't like 100% because obviously people have different, like I know Drafts, for example, is a game that had black and white and traditionally red pieces as well, so I didn't use that one. But Othello, chess, Go and backgammon generally use black and white pieces, but Mancala doesn't have a traditional color set, so it was about the color link. But it doesn't matter. Cool. You're still doing very well. Don't you worry. So the final chance for you to get a point, and you can join in on this, Steph, by the way, is the game is called 11. Because obviously T, one of the things you mentioned earlier on, 11s is which of these games does not play at 11 players, as in the official play count. So the official on the box does not play for 11 players. So this is a stretch. But it's creative. That's what I'm going for.
It's not chat.
No. So out of these, again, it's another kind of odd one out. So we've got 2 Rooms and a Boom, One Night Ultimate Werewolf, The Last Banquet, Dixit Odyssey, Welcome to Your Perfect Home. So there's 5 games there. Which one of those does not play officially at 11 players?
Well, Welcome to is off the list. Like it plays. Yeah.
Can go 99.
Dixit Odyssey.
I haven't played Dixit Odyssey. Yeah, but 2 Rooms and a Boom, definitely you can play more than 11.
But it's the official count.
Well, that can do like 40 people.
Yeah.
So.
What were the first? Do you mind
I can repeat them,
the first 2?
So it was 2 Rooms and a Boom, One Night Ultimate Werewolf, The Last Banquet, Dixit Odyssey, and Welcome to Your Perfect Home.
Okay, we haven't played The Last Banquet as well, but I remember seeing it in a box. Odyssey, probably they bumped it up as a party game, but maybe it's, I don't know, it's a family game. If we were publishing it, it wouldn't go above 8 players to make Dixit. So, but maybe it is. I don't know.
He's got the photographic memory here. So
he's just cycling back through all of the games that he's played.
Yeah.
Dixit or The Last Banquet or The King's Banquet?
Let's go Dixit.
Okay, Dixit Odyssey.
So Dixit Odyssey. So I can reveal that Dixit Odyssey. I'm just going to try to lower the blinds because it's quite shining in my face now. Sorry about that. Apologies. There we go. It's a little bit more normal to look at now. So Dixit Odyssey's official player count is 2 to 12. So yes, you were right. They did bump it up as a sort of more of a party title, and that's why I specifically said Dixit Odyssey and not Dixit, because Dixit is a 3 to 6 player game.
Right.
But Odyssey up to 12. It's funny because it's got literally 12 little rabbit pieces in it, all different colors. So but I can reveal that the correct answer for that might surprise you. It was actually One Night Ultimate Werewolf, because that only goes up to 10 players. So I was trying to trick you a little bit there. Yeah, 3 to 10 players. Mm-hmm. But don't worry, you still did very well. You got 3 out of 5, and I think that's nothing to sniff at. So I think fair play, you did very well there. How did you enjoy that? Was that fun? Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, it was good. It reminded me of playing werewolf around a campfire with 50 people, all the town villagers that get killed off early, and that's awesome. I didn't know that. How many players, different roles are in that version? We'll have to look it up.
In the One Night Ultimate Werewolf, in the base game, I think there's not that many. There may be 8. You've got Villager, you've got Robber, you've got Troublemaker, Seer, the guy who wants to die. I can't remember his name. The werewolf, obviously. There's another one, the Drunk, and something else. I think there's not that many, but the thing is, because with the game, I think there's only 12 also different tokens, and the thing is, even when you're playing with 10 players, you're still only using 12 titles. 13 tiles, because there's 3 in the middle. So it might have extra rolls, but then you don't actually use them all in the game, because there's always a chance that the 3 werewolves could be in the middle. Yeah. So as Steph said, not so many, but the rolls change. So yeah. Okay, cool. So we're actually getting close to the end of the thing, but I'm going to start with the question that Paul Grogan from Gaming Rules always likes me to ask in the streams, and that is, what's your favorite cheese? He's just a dairy person. So yeah, do you have a favorite cheese product?
I was literally talking about this with someone this morning. I really enjoy goat cheese with cranberries in it. So there's one at our local store, and it's embedded all throughout. So it's a sweet dessert treat, basically.
That sounds pretty good. You know what? I'm not a huge fan of goat's cheese. I can handle it, and I've had it like a goat's. That's the doorbell ringing, by the way. Sorry, but the goat's cheese with like in a salad, for example, I've had that. Really liked it. But yeah, I'm not a huge thing. But that does sound good. That sounds very good. And how about you, Dan? Do you have a favorite?
We went to Greece a few years ago, working with some refugees, and we had incredible feta cheese. So feta if it's good, and Swiss if you just have a sandwich.
Do you know, I can't think of like, you know, a better like Greek feta cheese than actually having it from Greece itself. So that's very nice. And sorry, you said about going to help with the refugees. Like, do you mind like elaborating on that? Because that sounds really cool.
Yeah. So I guess before we help. Yeah, teams to Greece and Iraq. I was in disaster relief beforehand. Which actually sparked my journey into board games, because we're in a refugee camp in Greece where people would be crossing the Mediterranean Ocean. Mm-hmm. And of course, Arabic is, for me, just having a little bit of a background. So we would play Uno and just sit around with kids and their parents. And it's sometimes the most enjoyable thing for them to do. Like a lot of them are stuck in these different shipping containers, right? Just temporarily for months on end, and just providing a little bit of joy and happiness. It was just
that sounds
incredible
awesome.
And touching. And it's a language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, board games are a language that transcends different cultures. So,
well, you know what? That's a great place to sort of end that, because that's so sweet and like uplifting. And you're right, like board games can do so much good, and so that's an awesome story. Listen, I'm going to give you a chance to plug anything you want. I know your Kickstarter's still running, so you can obviously direct people towards that, and then anything else you wanted to do, just use this opportunity to do so.
Absolutely. So yeah, we have our Chai reprint and our expansion order going on right now. For the expansion, just if anybody's interested, it is $20 inclusive of everything. So
and free shipping
shipping included. So we just really wanted to do that to make it accessible for everybody right now.
But yeah, shout out to our artists. Mary Asdik, she's local, and then Sahana Vijay from India, and our Chai community for sure. So they're the ones who kind of brought things along, and there wouldn't be a game without them.
Fantastic. So yeah, like I said, jump on that Kickstarter if you've enjoyed listening about the game and you want to check it out for yourself. And hopefully we will we'll see another Kickstarter from you guys again not too long in the future. But I'll just do my quick plug. Tomorrow, by the way, on this channel I'll be playing a game of Expedition to Newdale, the solo version. So if you're curious about that, please check that out. And then on Friday I'll be speaking to Kareem from Board Game Minimalist, talking about how he cuts those games down in his collection, because that is something that not a lot of people can do. So maybe he can give us some tips on that. Thank you so much, Dan and Connie. You've been absolutely wonderful guests. I wish you even more success, if it's possible, with the Kickstarter game and future endeavors. And hopefully, maybe we'll see you on the show again soon, or maybe even at a convention.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us,
It's been an absolute pleasure. And again, I wish you all the best with everything. So until the next time, see you all, and take care. Bye.
Take care.